Okay guys, so we're going to be working on the ADI flame test lab, and this lab is going to be in two parts. So the first part, we're going to be doing a flame test in which you guys are going to be looking at the different types of metals. So we make chloride salts. Those are all made with a non-metal chloride, which makes it a salt. And then each different sample has a different metal that is combined with the chloride to make it into a salt. So we're basically looking at the electrons and what kind of characteristic color they're going to give off when you apply energy to them. So when we heat this stick, and these sticks have been soaked in a solution, and so as you'll look on the back side, which we'll go over in a minute, there's 8 different solutions and 2 unknowns, where you're going to have to identify what the unknowns are after making a table of the known samples. So according to our current theory about the structure of atoms, and this is the handout that you were given, okay, the structure of atoms, electrons are found around the nucleus in regions called orbitals. Orbitals represent the potential position of electron at any given point in time. They are located at different distances from the nucleus and have different energy levels associated with them. Each orbital, however, can only hold 2 electrons. The electrons of an atom fill low energy orbitals, which are the ones closest to the nucleus, before they fill the higher energy ones. Electrons are in a ground state when under stable conditions. When the electrons in an atom are bombarded with energy from an outside source, however, they absorb that energy and jump temporarily to a higher energy level. The electrons are said to be in an excited state when this happens. When those electrons release that energy, it is emitted in the form of electromagnetic radiation. If that electromagnetic radiation falls between 400 and 700 nanometers in wavelength, it is given off in the form of visible light. Many common metal ions, such as lithium, sodium, potassium, calcium, and barium, strontium, and copper, produce a distinct color of visible light when they are heated. These ions emit a unique color of light because they consist of atoms that have a unique electron configuration. Chemists can therefore identify these elements with a flame test. To conduct a flame test, we are going to take a wood splint that has been soaked in distilled water and is dipped into a powder, but what we did is we dissolved the powder in solution and soaked them in solution, okay? Then you place it in the hottest portion of the flame. The unique color that we observe during a flame test is actually a mixture of several different wavelengths of visible light. Chemists can use a spectroscope to identify these various wavelengths. We're going to use 3D glasses to do that. This technique is known as spectroscopy. A spectroscope splits light to form an emission line spectrum. The emission line spectrum for hydrogen is provided in the figure. The emission line spectrum for hydrogen consists of 4 different wavelengths of light. In this investigation, you will have an opportunity to conduct a flame test and use a spectroscope, 3D glasses, to identify 4 unknown solutions. So, your task in this lab, okay, is to determine the emission line spectrum of 6 different powders, then determine the identity of 4 unknown solutions using a flame test, a spectroscope, and the emission line spectrum from the 6 known solutions. Now, the guiding question for this investigation is, what are the identities of the unknown solutions? Okay? I'm going to end here. This is part 1. Part 2 will be us actually performing the lab and the flame test, and then you'll have to make a data table recording all of your observations. So we're going to end the video now, and then you'll look at part 2, and that's going to be the actual flame test. This is the introduction to your handout, where you're going to talk about the guiding question, you're going to write out your procedures, and then you're going to make a data table of all of the known samples. Now, the known samples are listed in the table. The only thing is I did add barium chloride, BaCl2, as one of the known samples. So when you guys are making your data table, please include barium chloride.